What is going on, everybody? 'Tis I, the enigma of the gun airwaves, Miyanovich, welcoming you to Season 3 of the Liberal Gun Owners Lens podcast, where unprecedented perspectives are packed into the cargo hold for the LGO Lens spaceship Voyagio.
That's fucking Italian.
Don't believe that evolution is possible with guns and public safety in America? It's already happening, y'all. Minds are evolving. Think guns versus public safety is the only game in town, do ya? Think culture war is the big boss, do ya? Then keep your ass in the past. Everyone else, all aboard! Hello, everybody. Welcome to Season 3 of the Liberal Gun Owners Lens podcast. 'Tis I, Miyanovich, coming at you to break the seal and set the stage for what is to come in 2024. To get this nice and concise, here in this first episode of the season, I've written something down, so I'm going to partly go with what I've written and partly extemporaneous. So to put it plainly, I have been able to move forward and complete my responsibilities for the analysis of the anthropologic relationship between humans and weapons, a critical piece of the foundation for fully understanding the world of guns, maybe the most important piece in my estimation for all of the serious arguments that we are going to have to make going forward. You might not understand that, and that's okay, but the logic surrounding guns in this society really fucking sucks. Like, it really sucks badly, and we need to understand the foundational forces between people and guns. Anthropology is where we needed to start to address that suck. So now that that portion is set, we can move on to something that I think most all people are going to find more practical for their day-to-day existence at the nexus between guns and public safety. And that something is the law. You may not know this, but incorporating the anthropologic understanding of how humans operate was of vital importance to foundational American jurists like Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. And so in this same tradition, even our law-related analysis will benefit from this anthropillar. That anthropillar is really, really important. It's already paying off. It's already paying dividends. It's creating relationships. So very important, and we'll see just how important in the future. We are moving on to law. We have weapons anthropology in the bag, and the culture and society analysis, which will come after the law pillar, will largely be served this year by the spring publication of David Yamani's new book, Gun Curious, a liberal professor's surprising journey inside America's gun culture. So look, people, by the end of this year, we are going to have an unprecedented amount of logic and concepts to deal with guns from the liberal perspective. There are liberal things being produced that need to exist for the world of guns. By the end of this year, you will have exposure to an enormous amount of work. You'll have the anthropology pieces, you'll have legal and law-related pieces, you'll have David's society and culture pieces, you will have my analysis of culture and society coming next year, and then you will have a philosophical piece that will be produced in a few years. So you will have a four-square, full-spectrum understanding from the liberal perspective of what is going on with people and guns. These are unprecedented products, and they're long overdue. Liberals haven't done shit for guns until recently. By the end of this year, you will have exposure to an enormous amount of work, and it is important to note that all of this work is essential, expensive, and exists nowhere else on earth. So support it and expose yourself to it. This year, I will be putting more focus on the intersection between law and human behavior. I will still be conducting interviews and posting standalone episodes on other topics and viewpoints, but I will certainly be placing an emphasis on the analysis that I am currently immersed in, which is the law and human behavior. And why am I including human behavior in this analysis and not just talking about the dry and annoying world of technical law, specifically technical gun law? Well, first and foremost, the law analysis is being split into two sections. The first is law and human behavior, and the second is technical gun law. We start with law and human behavior because most all gun owners, most all people that I come across have very little real sense of what the law is, what it is not, the things that laws are capable of, and most importantly, the things that laws are not capable of. We have a serious foundational issue in this country with the law and how it is used. Much of this is sourced from too many people not knowing their ass from a hole in the ground when it comes to law and policy. Before I say anything else, I do want to say that having the rule of law, a body of laws, courts, and enforcement are, at least on paper, a good thing for an advancing society. There is absolutely no way to avoid the presence of the rule of law. The issue comes from the fact that it is humans who facilitate the rule of law. Therein, as they say, lies the rub. There's really no reason for me to do anything other than to introduce ideas that point out fundamental flaws and assumptions that our country engages in as it pertains to law and policy making. Since we deal in the world of guns, we can use our experiences to point out these flaws. Our two most important truths for this year on the LGO Lens podcast will be the following. For the aspects of law that most apply to the nexus between guns and public safety, 1. That laws are tools of behavioral persuasion only. Our system is set up to persuade people to behave in certain ways, but that is all they really are, tools of persuasion. Laws are terribly underpowered for placing hard stops on what people do. As such, they are terribly underpowered for prevention, and their ability to deter behavior is highly context dependent. If we were going to go by the statements of democratic policymakers, we would tend to believe that policy and laws have tremendous power, and the reality is that they don't. Laws and policies do not nearly have the power that many lawmakers and activists proffer. Part of the issue with liberal progressives is that we maintain some sort of blind religion as it pertains to progress, and as such, we maintain a delusion about the power of law and policy. Laws and policy can and do have effects. Sometimes that can be essential, but that is rare. Laws and policy simply do not have the power to achieve what lawmakers, activists, and many other people sell. Number 2, that guns and gun ownership are linked into the rule of law, and no amount of idealism about rights can change that. Guns will be subject to the processes of law as long as there are guns in America. It has been said that religion is the opiate of the masses. Well, along those same lines, absolutism about rights is the opiate of activists and special interests. From our time as hunter-gatherers, through the early human states, to the modern state, there has simply never been a time where interests and desires do not intersect and require moderation. Never. It wasn't happening 10,000 years ago when humans settled in a fertile crescent to begin an agricultural way of life, and it's not true now. It won't be true in 500 years either. Rights collide, and the rights need moderated. We only have 2 ways to do this, privately or officially. There is no reality where people get to ignore the clashing of rights. Guns will be regulated by the rule of law. And as we know that laws are somewhat effective in certain cases, but in most cases not really that effective, we can apply this to guns. Despite what gun people often try to push, gun laws don't do nothing. Double negative on purpose. They actually have some persuasive power in certain instances. However, in many cases, gun laws actually do nothing. They do nothing. We might assume that policymakers and think tanks and academics and scientists and activists in America have a true grasp on this area between when laws are effective and when they are not. You would be wrong to assume this. These people do not possess an advanced understanding of when laws work and when they do not. Our society sucks at understanding when laws work and when they do not. And we cannot get any better at this unless we start with the defining feature of laws, and this means gun laws. For the most part, most laws do nothing of significance, but it is worthwhile to find the places where they truly have effect. The habit for policymakers, and for many others, is to believe that if we are not getting enough effect with a significant social problem, then that means more law is how we get more effect. This is also part of the problem, and it is based upon sophomoric assumptions about how law affects human behavior. So, to summarize, public safety advocates believe that laws and policies have power over human behavior that they simply do not and will not ever have. And gun rights absolutists believe that guns belong outside of the rule of law. Both of these perspectives are horse shit. We do not even need to have a foundational discussion about the Bill of Rights and liberty and flags and George Washington receiving the gift of guns from Jesus. None of this is even necessary for the best arguments. Laws simply do not affect behavior very well. Having a lot of them often provides no additional effect in most domains. We can say this, however. People who understand the actual dynamic of law and human behavior need to be more heavily involved in policymaking and rebuking the ridiculous assumptions that underlie the perspectives at the gun public safety nexus. This is what liberals are supposed to be doing, getting at what's real, not blindly following crazy institutional and activist-y make-em-ups.